Hello and welcome back to the channel where flavor knows no borders. This is Food Around Me.
You thought kebab was the peak of Turkish cuisine. Wrong. That was just the appetizer. In part 2, we're going straight from the streets to the Sultan's royal feast, where every dish carries the taste of power, war, desire, and even mythology. Americans grow up with Italian pizza. To them, pizza means round, flat, tomato sauce, mozzarella stretching forever. But in Turkey, you meet its bold cousin pie, a dish that makes many travelers stop mid-bite and whisper, "Wait, pizza can actually taste better than this." At first glance, pie looks familiar: baked dough, toppings of meat, veggies, cheese, but the magic lies in its shape and soul. Instead of a circle, pie is boat-shaped, with the edges pinched together like the frame of an Ottoman ship sailing on a sea of melted cheese. Take a bite. The crust is chewy yet crisp, and the filling bursts with flavor. For Turks, pie is everyday food. It comes in endless variations: minced lamb with spices, stretchy cheese melting down the middle, even eggs cracked raw and baked until golden. Add sukak, the spicy Turkish sausage, and it hits like fire and butter at once. Italians may think they've mastered indulgence with pizza, but pie often goes heavier, richer, deeper. Here's the twist: Americans assume pizza belongs to Italy alone, yet history tells us otherwise. Flatbreads with toppings existed all across the Mediterranean, Greece, Levant, Anatolia long before pizza became an Italian trademark. In many ways, pie is not an imitation of pizza, but an ancestor. And then comes the culture. Italian pizza is often sliced into neat wedges for individuals. Pie, on the other hand, is communal. A long pie is placed on the table, cut diagonally, and shared among family and friends. It's not just food, it's a journey together, a shared boat of flavor. During Ramadan, pie takes on an almost sacred role. As the sun sets, people line up outside bakeries to bring home piping hot pie for iftar. The smell of fresh bread and sizzling toppings, combined with the hunger of an entire day, turns pie into more than nourishment. It becomes a symbol of patience and reward. To an American, this flips the idea of pizza upside down. Pizza back home is fast food, eaten on the go. But in Turkey, pie is ritual, community, identity. It's the difference between filling a stomach and feeding a soul. And if you're American, beware. One bite of pie might just rewrite your definition of pizza forever. Think pizza only belongs to Italy. Not quite. In Turkey, there's a version that's thinner, spicier, and way more explosive. It's called lahmacun. But careful, don't call it Turkish pizza in front of locals, unless you want an angry stare. Lahmacun is paper-thin dough, spread with minced lamb, tomato, onion, chili, and an orchestra of spices that can break even the bravest eater into a sweat. Baked until crisp, the crust crackles, and the topping glows fiery red. The aroma, strong enough to turn heads down the street. Turks eat it fast. Squeeze lemon, add herbs, roll it up, and take a big bite with your hands. Not fancy, not delicate, just dangerously addictive. For Americans, the first bite is usually shocking. This isn't pizza, it's way too spicy. But a few bites later, the heat doesn't destroy you, it provokes you. It pushes you into another bite, and another. Lahmacun is like a psychological game. Fear the fire, crave the fire, surrender to the fire. Turkish cuisine is deeply tied to religion, power, and community. Back in Ottoman times, street foods like lahmacun weren't just snacks, they were symbols. They declared that power didn't only live in palaces. It was also found in markets, alleys, and bakeries where ordinary people ate together. Eating lahmacun was, and still is, a taste of belonging. If Italian pizza is a romantic candlelit dinner, lahmacun is a wild beach date. Wind in your hair, fire in your mouth, chaos and joy all at once. A so-called poor man's pizza that ends up haunting you with its unforgettable flavor. Have you ever heard of a raw meatball? In Turkey, there's a dish that once stirred huge debate. Kebab, literally raw spicy meatball. Yes, raw meat, mixed with chili and spices, kneaded by hand, and eaten straight away. For Americans, that phrase alone is enough to turn them pale. Traditionally, kebab was made from raw beef or lamb, kneaded with bulgur, dried chili, onion, garlic, and a storm of spices. The cook had to squeeze and knead it for 20 to 30 minutes until the bulgur absorbed the flavor and the meat slightly cooked from the warmth of friction. A form of cooking without fire, just muscle and patience. But then, food safety laws stepped in. Eating raw meatballs in public was basically a hotline to the hospital. So, Turkey banned kebab made with raw meat. The solution: replace the meat entirely with bulgur. Keep the chili, keep the spices, and suddenly you have a vegetarian version, still fiery, still addictive, but safer. When Americans hear raw meatball, they imagine sushi fused with ground beef, spiked with chili. Most shake their heads, a brave few try. And when they do, they're surprised. It doesn't taste raw at all. Instead, it's spicy, tangy, nutty, almost like a Turkish-style veggie taco. Kebab proves something remarkable. Tradition survived by adapting. From a once dangerous raw meat snack to a modern vegetarian street food, it's now found on every corner in Istanbul. Who would have thought a banned dish could come back stronger than ever? Americans think donuts are the sugar ceiling, then they meet baklava, a pastry drenched in honey and stuffed with nuts. One bite, and your heart races, not from love, but from sugar overload. Baklava is the pride of Turkish and Middle Eastern cuisine. Dozens of paper-thin pastry sheets, each brushed with butter, layered with walnuts or almonds, stacked high, then baked golden. Finally, it's soaked in honey or syrup. The result? A bite that's crisp, nutty, and dripping with sweetness. When Americans taste it, most are floored. Donuts and cupcakes are already sugar bombs, but baklava adds layers of butter plus rivers of honey. Some even joke, this isn't dessert, it's diabetic shock in a box. Yet oddly enough, they still go back for another piece because it's simply irresistible. Baklava is more than just dessert, it's a cultural sugar grenade. A treat that Westerners both fear and crave at the same time. Lesson here: the sweetest dangers are often the hardest to resist. What kind of candy once symbolized royal power? In the Ottoman Empire, it was Turkish delight or lokum, a soft, chewy cube dusted in powdered sugar that once drove sultans crazy. Lokum wasn't just candy, it was sugar diplomacy. Sultans gifted it like treasure, displayed it at banquets, and impressed foreign guests with its elegance. Inside, it's chewy and sticky, often infused with pistachios, almonds, or rosewater. When Americans try it, their first complaint is, "Wow, this sticks to my teeth." Yet, seconds later, they're reaching for another piece. The gentle sweetness, the floral aroma, it's strange, addictive, and unforgettable.
If you've made it this far, maybe your curiosity isn't average. Maybe you don't just eat to survive, you eat to understand, so don't just scroll away. Drop a thought in the comments, something only you would say. Like this video if it sparked anything inside you. And hit subscribe, not for the algorithm, but for the next question you never knew you needed. Because here, we don't feed the masses, we feed the minds that wonder.